Hello students of class 8. Today we are going to start the first chapter in your English Rapid, that is Merchant of Venice. Okay, it's a very long chapter and we will be doing it in parts, and I will also give you the questions in the PDF. Please do them as I give it to you neatly in your Rapid copy. You have to make a separate English Rapid copy. We'll start off with the chapter itself. Merchant of Venice. Shylock, the Jew, lived at Venice. He was a usurer who had amassed an immense fortune by lending money at great interest to Christian merchants. Shylock, being a hard-hearted man, exacted the payment of money he lent with such severity that he was much disliked by all good men, and particularly by Antonio, a young merchant of Venice. So as I have already mentioned in these characters, Antonio, Shylock, Bassanio, Portia, Gratiano, Nerissa, Duke and Bellario. We'll come to this. We begin this chapter with Antonio and Shylock. What does it say? That Shylock is a Jew. Okay, Jew means a person belonging to a different, another religion, whereas Antonio is a Christian. Now, what kind of person is Shylock? Shylock is a very hard-hearted money lender. He used to lend money. Usuries means a person who lends money at a very high rate of interest. And by lending this money at a very high rate of interest, what Shylock was able to do was Shylock was able to make a lot of wealth. Okay, he became very rich. Not only that, no matter what the condition of the person was, okay, he would not have any mercy on that person, and he would exact the payment. That is, he would somehow extract that interest from that person to the last bit. And for that reason, this Shylock was disliked by all people in Venice, especially Antonio. Okay. And who was Antonio? Antonio was a young merchant of Venice. And Shylock as much hated Antonio. So not only that Antonio had disliked Shylock, Shylock also hated Antonio. So there was a great enmity between Antonio and Shylock. Because he used to lend money to people in distress. Who used to lend money? This Antonio used to lend money to people in distress. Distress means one who are poor. Okay, and when he used to lend money to them, he would never take any interest from them for the money he lent, and would never take any interest for the money he lent. Therefore, there was great enmity between this covetous Jew. Covetous means one who is always desires certain things. In short, it is greedy. Okay, here covetous means this greedy Jew, and the generous merchant Antonio. Generous is somebody who is always willing to help. Generous merchant Antonio. Whenever Antonio met Shylock on the Rialto, he used to reproach. Reproach means scold him with his usuries. With his usuries means scold him. Why? Because the Shylock took money at a very high rate of interest, and he would exact that interest to the last bit. So whenever Antonio met Shylock, Antonio would scold him for that reason. Okay. And usuries and hard dealings. Hard dealings means Antonio disliked Shylock because everybody thought that not everybody thought, because Shylock was a very cruel person and everybody disliked him, particularly Antonio. And hard dealings which the Jew would bear with seeming patience. So when Antonio would say so many things to Shylock would never say anything in return. But in his mind, he would always wait for an opportunity to take revenge on Antonio. Seeming patient while he secretly meditated revenge. Antonio was the kindest man that ever lived, the best conditioned, and the most unwearied spirit in doing courtesies. Indeed, he was one in whom the ancient Roman honor more appeared than any that drew breath in Italy. So Antonio was a person who was perfect in every way, and he was always willing to help people, and unwearied spirit means untiring. Okay. And it says that you cannot find another person like Antonio in whole of Italy. He was greatly beloved by all his fellow citizens, but the friend who was dearest and dearest to his heart was Bassanio. So Antonio's friend was Bassanio, nearest and dearest friend of Antonio. Bassanio, a noble Venetian. Venetian means a person belonging to Venice, who, having but a small patrimony is the property that you inherit from your father, okay, had nearly exhausted his little fortune by living in too expensive a manner. So expensive a manner for his slender means, as young men of high rank with small fortunes are apt to do. So Bassanio's father had left a very small amount of money small amount of property for him. But what Bassanio did was, Bassanio kept on overspending. Okay, whatever money he had, he spent more than that. And by spending more than that, that little property was exhausted, or whatever his father had left was exhausted very soon. And this was not only the case of Bassanio, there were many people like Bassanio who did the same thing. Okay, whenever Bassanio wanted money, Antonio assisted him. That is, he went and borrowed it from Antonio. Bassanio needed money, so Bassanio went and borrowed it from Antonio. And it seemed as if they had one heart and one purse between them. So Bassanio borrowed money from Antonio, but never repaid the money. And Antonio never bothered even for that, because it was like whatever belonged to Antonio was as much Antonio's property was equally Bassanio's property too. So that's why it said that one heart, one purse. That is, his money was as much as Antonio's as it was Bassanio's. One day, Bassanio came to Antonio and told him that he wished to repair his fortune. Repair his fortune means to rebuild, okay, or to restore his good condition. That is, he had spent all his money, all his fortune, and he kept on borrowing from Antonio. So he came and said that I have fallen in love with a very rich lady, and if I can marry her, then I can become rich by that marriage, because after marriage her property will become my property. That's the reason. One day Bassanio came to Antonio and told him that he wished to repair his fortune by a wealthy marriage, with a lady whom he dearly loved, whose father that was lately dead, that is, the father of the lady had died, had left her sole heiress to a large estate. Heiress means that is one who gets the property after the death of that person. Okay, so means and death of the father, or in that way. So the lady means the father had a large property, and after his death, this Portia, whose name we will know very soon, she became the sole heiress. That is, she became the sole owner of that whole property of his, of her father. And that in her father's lifetime, he used to visit her house. So, so long her father was alive, Bassanio did visit Portia. When he thought he had observed this lady had sometimes from her eyes sent speechless messages that seemed to say he would be no unwelcome suitor. So, though Portia had never admitted it, directly in that way to Bassanio, but when Bassanio used to visit Portia when her father was alive, at that time Portia had, through her gestures or through her speechless, messages through her eyes, had, given that, sent that message to Bassanio that he also means he was no unwelcome suitor. That is, she also liked Bassanio. But not having the money to furnish himself with an appearance befitting the lover of so rich an heiress, he besought Antonio to add to many favors he had shown by lending him 3,000 ducats. But before, it's not given in this book, but if you can read the original play, you will know that Bassanio needed the money to play the lottery of caskets. Okay. Now, and for that reason, Bassanio went to Antonio and asked for 3,000 ducats. Okay. Now, what happened? Antonio had no money by him at that time to lend his friend, but expecting soon to have some ships come home laden with merchandise, he said he would go to Shylock, the rich money lender, and borrow the money upon the credit of those ships. So what happened was, Antonio couldn't give the money to Bassanio at that time. Why? Because all his ships were at sea. But he was very confident that those ships will come back with a lot of merchandise, that is a lot of wealth. So he decided that he would go and borrow this money from Shylock. Okay, and whatever interest he would charge, it wouldn't be a big factor for Antonio to give it back. Antonio would be very easily be able to repay the money with that high rate of interest. Antonio and Bassanio went together to Shylock, and Antonio asked the Jew to lend him 3,000 ducats upon any interest he should require to be paid out of the merchandise contained in his ships at sea. So both of them went to Shylock, okay, and they asked for the money, and they also said that no matter whatever money you charge, once my ships are back, I will be able to pay you the money, and my ships will be back with merchandise very soon. So what we find here, that Bassanio needed 3,000 ducats Antonio didn't have that money, so they went to Shylock to borrow the money. We stop here today. We'll do the rest next chapter, means next half of the chapter next day. Thank you.